Hey there, in this video, we're going to walk through how to build a predictable sales pipeline with cold email so that you don't have to rely on referrals, spending a bunch of money on ads, or expensive sales team, or worse, leaving your growth to chance. This guide covers really the exact process that we've used now with dozens of B2B health tech companies to help them grow revenue reliably through cold email. Hey there, my name's Orrett, Commander of Growth here at Mighty Orrett. We help B2B tech companies drive sustainable growth through demand generation programs. Provided some links here to a bunch of case studies, our YouTube channel, in addition to our design guide if you want to go ahead and take a look. Let's go ahead and dive in. Who is this guide for? This is really meant for CEOs, founders, and marketing to sales leaders at B2B tech and health tech companies. You have a well-defined ICP. You know your customer pain points inside and out. You have product market fit in the form of case studies, testimonials, and actual customers that we can talk to. And then you need a way to scale your customer growth cost effectively. So just some really quick proof points that this actually works. You know, we've seen some here, a number of booked meetings. We see kind of the positive reply rates that we're getting from some of the campaigns that we're sending out, and then just some general responses back from the emails that we've puffed out to potential prospects. So there's two core things that we see that really kill B2B tech companies. And one is relying very heavily on referrals only. Referrals are really great early on to gain, quick traction from investors, from your sales team. But what we see most often than not is that they very quickly get depleted. And when they do, companies are left really scrambling, trying to figure out a means to get predictable pipeline growth. The second part is related is that we see the companies have an insufficient lead volume. Like your lead and deal flow is the lifeblood of your company. And when companies lack the right process systems to really attract, engage, and convert these leads, it really sets them up for stagnant growth. So where do people go wrong with cold email? And something that you need to understand is that cold email, a lot of times it really needs sufficient volume for it to really see results. And you need to be thinking about the mindset of sending, hundreds of emails a day consistently over a stretch of time. And one of my favorite examples of this is a story from Alex Ramosi about him talking to his mentor about him sending out 300 flyers for a day for his business and how it really didn't work. And then his mentor came back and said, hey, we start testing at 5,000 flyers per day, and then we scale up to 15,000 flyers. So you sending out 300 is not enough volume for you to learn, to see any results coming back. And it's a similar mindset that you need to have when approaching cold email, that it's really about volume, it's about testing, in order for you to really get the best benefits out of something like this. So I do want to dive in and just kind of visually show you like what some of the math behind cold email looks like. Here we have a calculator that we put together that kind of shows you kind of what some loose metrics will look like if you have a specific annual revenue goal in mind. Right. So in this example, if you wanted to add, say, 250,000 in additional ARR, and you have an average, client value of say $30,000, we can kind of backtrack into the math of how many emails that you need to be sending, how many sending accounts, and kind of what that looks like. So here we made some assumptions. We have about a 600 contact to lead ratio. So that for every 600 emails you're sending out, you're going to get at least one positive contact from that. And you can kind of see, you need to email about 51,000 prospects in order for you to get the 85 meetings booked based off of this kind of 7% rate there. You get 60 of those to actually show, 42 of them end up being qualified. You then get your 8 clients that you need in order to kind of hit that goal. And so you need to be sending about 200 emails per day, which is about 4,000 prospects per month. And then if we do a 3-part email sequence in total, that's about 1,200 emails that get sent out over that period of time. And then so you need about 21 email accounts to email 4,000 prospects on a monthly basis. It would eventually get you to your target number. So these numbers obviously change if you have a higher or lower ARR goals or contract value, or if you get more efficient in sending out your emails, you can see kind of how the numbers change there. But I've left this available. You can actually download this calculator and kind of play around with the numbers yourself to see how this will work for your business. So we just talked about the calculator, kind of how the math works. But let's talk about the difference between a service versus an offer, because this is very important when you go into actually crafting your emails that you're going to use to reach out to people and end up impacting those numbers in terms of your contact to lead ratio. And something that you need to be very clear of is, most companies lead with a service that they provide when really that all your buyer, your prospects care about is your offer. And so the best example I find to really articulate this is using pizza as an example. So you have Papa John's, which is a pizza restaurant and delivery, right? That's what they do. But what their offer is what you see on the right, they're specials. You can get a 5-topping pizza for $14.99, delivered fresh to your door, 30 minutes, or you don't pay, right? And then breaking that down further into some more product and services you may be familiar with, in web design, the service is just web design, but really what you're offering is a high converting website that gets you 20% more conversions. Digital marketing is the service, but what the offer is, hey, we'll get you in front of 5,000 of your ideal fit decision makers and book you 5 to 15 calls in a 30-day period. And for a medical device, for example, the service or the product itself is the medical device, but the offer is really what it does. So we help So we help physicians catch many missed patient referrals. Keep this in mind as you're thinking about cold emails, right? Is that no one buys, for example, web design. They buy the results web design gets them. No one buys a medical device. They buy the results medical devices produce for them. No one buys medical software. They buy the results medical software gets them. So with some of the foundational items kind of out of the way in terms of the mindset of how you should be thinking about cold email, let's start diving into the technical pieces of how we actually set up your outbound infrastructure. So these are the tips and best practices for email success. So the first one's going to be about domain management. And what we generally recommend is we start with purchasing 10 domains using a mix of, say, prefixes or suffixes related to your brand. So for example, in our case, our company name is Mighty Orbit. And we use things like Go, Mighty Orbit, Try, HQ, Get, or Growth, our pipeline. Just kind of pick whatever's related to your industry, but you'll purchase these domains, what I call burner domains, and then forward them back to your primary domain. We always recommend that you keep your cold email domains completely separate from your primary domains. One, it helps you kind of eliminate any risk of your main domain being blacklisted, especially important if you're sending out transactional emails or newsletters or any of those other items from your main domain. We don't want those to ever have the risk of going into spam. So your outbound activities need to be completely separate from your main primary domain. The next part is about your email account setups. So for each domain that you create, you're going to create 2 sending email addresses using either Outlook 365 or Google Workspaces. So in this example, Microsoft 365 costs about $5 per sending address that you're going to create. So with that, you have 20 sending addresses, you have 25 emails going out per day. So you have about a 500 email per day capacity that you have with this initial setup. And with that, some of the other best practices that we recommend are limiting your sending volume per day per account. So we generally like to set this as around a 25 daily limit. And with that, it also helps to make sure that you're distributing your sending volume across multiple domains and keeping a healthy sending reputation by distributing the load across all the domains that you're using. So now that you've purchased your domains, you've purchased your sending accounts, we need to talk about deliverability best practices, right? So we want to make sure that emails that you're sending out actually hit the inbox and not go to spam. And the most important part of this is implementing the authentication standards, such as SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. There's a really great guide that smartly.ai has put together that breaks this down into much more detail that I'll cover in a video like this. But at a high level, you want to make sure that these items are on your DNS, so your domain name service provider. So this is most likely wherever you purchase your domains from. And you want to make sure that these are updated as well too, and that you're validating them inside of your email sending tool. So this ensures that you'll get the highest deliverability. And with some of the new changes that Google, Microsoft, and Yahoo have made to email addresses, these are now required in order for you to send out outbound emails in basically any capacity. The next thing that we recommend from there is making sure that you warm up your emails for a minimum of 2 weeks. And so when you use tools like SmartLead or Instantly, those have built-in warm-up features. And you can see here a sample campaign from one of our sending accounts that's been running now. So basically what this does is creates a sending pool where it will send out emails. It will receive emails as well too, and kind of mimic the actions that a real human would take when sending out cold emails. This helps to really build up your domain authority. It helps to build up your sending score, and it helps to make sure that your emails actually will land in the inbox. Now that we have the technical parts done, you have your domains, you have your sending accounts, you've set up what the best practices are for deliverability. Now we need to work through how do we actually get your email list and how do we build that out, right? And one of the first things that you need to go through is doing a really good job of defining your ideal customer profile and your targeting. And so we'd like to look at this in a couple different categories. The first one's going to be demographic, right? So this is exactly who you're contacting. Things like the job titles, the roles, the location, the seniority, the time in the roles, and other items like that to actually find the people that you want to reach out to. But then we want to also break that down into the firmographics. So where do these people work? What are the types of companies that they're in? So that could be the company size, the location, their funding status, for example. And then the technographic information, right? So this is relevant to certain companies. What are the technologies they're using? Could it be their CMS systems? Are they using WordPress? Are they using HubSpot or Salesforce? Do they have other tools or technologies on the back end that would make them a really good fit for your product or service? So I've provided a couple of links to a few tools that we love to use when we're building out our ICP list for clients. Those are tools like Apollo, which is a great general list that has basically a lot of content information across a lot of different industries. You have Crunchbase if you're targeting startups or companies that have been funded. You have things like ListKit, which is another provider kind of similar to Apollo, specifically for healthcare companies. You may use something like Definitive Health, where you would want to get a list of physicians, of hospitals, basically their industry codes and things like that to help you see patient volume or other relevant information to help you better target your prospects. Regardless of what tool you end up using, one of the things you absolutely want to make sure of is that you're always cleaning, verifying your email list that you're purchasing from any of these providers. And so what this does is it helps reduce bounce rates, helps to improve overall deliverability, and it helps to extend the life of the email accounts that you've purchased. And so we're big fans of using, for example, Million Verifier to help kind of verify any of the emails that are come through. And then they will give you the status if it's a good email, you're free to send them. if it's a risky email, so it's a catch-all or email that can't be verified, or if it's just a bad email address and you shouldn't email that to them at all. Hey, so now I'll just do a quick demo of how we build and think about our ICP list for customers. And so I'm going to use an example here from an Apollo list that we've built out, just kind of show you how to start thinking about this as you go to build out your own list. So here, for example, we have our list of our personas, our targeting criteria. Just going to click on, for example, this marketing leaders example that we have here, where we're targeting, for example, director of marketing, marketing managers, VP of marketing, CMOs, chief marketing officers. We want to exclude specific items. So we don't want someone that's doing product marketing or someone that's advising or consulting. And then we want the management level for us, C-suite, founder, partner, those kinds of items. Going on from there, we generally do the email verified status. We'd like companies and location. You can adjust, for example, the company size and either go like a predefined range, or if you know specifically, hey, we need companies that are really good at 5 or more employees, or they need to have, under 500 employees, you can go through and select that. And then you can also then target by specific industry titles or keywords. So for a lot of companies, if you're going after people that provide EHR or looking for medical devices, or if you want to specifically target medical practices or hospitals, you can use the industry keywords and selectors to filter some of that information out. All right, so now that we have our list kind of built out, we can go through what it takes to craft email copy that helps you book meetings. And a couple of things, key concepts that we think you should keep in mind here is that people are incredibly busy. No one necessarily wants to read a wall of text from a stranger. So our general recommendation is to keep your emails under 60 words in length. Directly address the target's pain points or problems that they're having or their goals that they're trying to reach, and offer value as much as you can in your initial outreach. And then test your CTAs, whether that's offering videos, resources, versus asking for a direct call or meeting. And some of the other recommendations that we recommend, and these are a little bit more technical, is one, send your emails only as plain text, and then not using any links or open or click-through tracking in your emails, as these will tend to impact your deliverability overall. And in this example here, we're not tracking opens, we're not tracking clicks. The only metrics that we really, really care about are positive reply rates. At the end of the day, we want to see if people are responding positively to our offers, and if they are, we can then double down on that messaging, or if we need to adjust it. Replies are also good for a measure for us to track because it generally lets us know if we're actually landing in the inbox, and also could be a good indicator as well too around kind of the offer quality. And then when we send out emails, we always recommend doing a 3 to 4 part email follow-up sequence when doing the cold outbound at a bare minimum. And then sometimes we even only do 2 email sequences. So we generally found that to also be really effective as well too. Any more than 4, so if you're doing 5, 6, 7 emails, you really just increase your chance of your emails landing in spam, of people marking unsubscribe, and really impacting your overall deliverability and bounce rate for emails. So we generally recommend keep your emails under 4-part sequences. And a lot of times we're even testing out only doing 2 emails in those sequences. And as you're testing out emails in your sequence, one recommendation that we make is to do a minimum of about 1,000 contacts per test. So for example, for us, when we do emails, our first email has 4 A/B tests that we're running of completely different offers, completely different messaging, so that we can see kind of which offer messaging kind of performs best. And so in this example here, we started off with A, B, C, and D. A wasn't performing well because it had 0 positive replies. B had the most, followed by, C and then D. So then we added on test number E after we reached that 1,000 contact kind of threshold, and have this currently running right now as well too. And so these are just some example emails that we've seen work really well when sending out cold emails. You need to make sure that you adapt this for your specific industry or specific market or whatever your offer is. But for us, for example, we've done this out before in the past. Hey, Daniel, spotted some things on your homepage that might be hurting your website sales. Recorded a quick 34-minute video with solutions. Can I share this with you? All right, really short, sweet, and punchy, right to the point. And they're offering value to the prospect to get them on the phone. And then the next one here, kind of below, this one we've also tested before in the past. I found you on LinkedIn, so providing a little bit of relevancy. Wanted to reach out. We help B2B tech companies reach X number of decision makers monthly and book 5 to 10 meetings guaranteed without spending a fortune on ads or extensive sales teams. Is that worth a quick chat? Right. So in these two, we're testing out different copy, different messaging. One is offering a video. Can I share with you? The other one is going directly for the CTA of booking a meeting. But just showing some examples here that we've used. Obviously we need to adjust these based off of your specific market or product you're selling for your company. So going back to helping deliverability, one of the things that you can do as you're writing your email copy is make use of spin tags to avoid landing in the spam folder. And so what this does is it makes each email appear unique and helps you to avoid the spam filters by randomly swapping out specific items or messaging in the email copy. So here you see kind of this hello first name, hi first name, good morning first name. So that makes sure each of those introductions is randomly generated. So every email that goes out will have some variation of that. We also have an example of the intro line, I'll be brief, I'll be quick. And then the closing opt-out as well too is also spin tags. So what this does is it creates all of these variations of emails. So every single email that generally goes out will be unique. So it kind of helps overall with deliverability. So in this, I'm providing some additional examples, so greeting examples of how we generally do our first names or how we do. And then I've also provided some examples of some opt-out examples of, hey, if you're not interested in how to get out of mailbox. So now we've walked through the entire process of setting up your outbound system, getting the actual contacts. Now let's talk a little bit about inbox management, right? Because at the end of the day, you're going to be getting positive responses back from the emails that you're sending out. So here's kind of how you start thinking about and start managing some of that process. Because at scale, the inbox management really becomes a bit of a challenge for a lot of people because there's a lot to keep track of, a lot of people to respond to. And generally speaking, best practices, you want to be very quick in your follow-up with prospects. An hour or less is ideal. It's even quicker. If you can get it to 15 minutes, that's sometimes great, but absolutely no longer than say 24 hours to follow up with prospects. And to help facilitate this process, you can use some of the inbuilt categorization tools and Smartly, for example, that will auto tag if someone is out of office, if someone has requested more information, someone said they do not contact, or if someone has expressed interest in your product. So here's just an example of kind of how Smartly does that, where you can have their AI kind of automatically tag these items. And then one of the great things as well too, if out of office, you can make sure not to exclude that from your reply percentage and to reactivate that contact if they are indeed out of office. So this eliminates kind of the manual process of having to do this and keep track of this yourself. One of the other great things that we do and recommend is that you use the webhooks to alert yourself immediately if you do get a positive response that comes through. We use the Slack integration, but you can use the webhooks to pipe this to Teams or to other channels that you might be using. And so that way we can immediately get alerted when a prospect is interested in our email. And then from there, you can set aside dedicated subsequences with custom tailored responses. So that way, when someone press interest and you respond, you can then loop them into a further follow-up sequence to keep them engaged. So I'm going to dive in now into some more live examples of specific cold email templates that we've used before in the past. And here you can see we have an example where we lead with a sales value asset. The real thing is that we're providing a guide if someone wants to get that. From there, we have other examples as well, which I'll skip here. We have the 2-line thing. But once again, leading with a guide. Can I share that with you? We have the pain example. Notice a few mistakes on your website that's hurting your sales process. Try and choose. We recently helped a company, so this one's a case study led. And then finally, we have just a straight offer. Really quickly, we will help you generate X, Y, Z in a specific time frame. Might send over more information. So those are some quick examples of 4 campaign types that you can use. So that's an example of 5 quick campaign types that you can use to something like this. It's part of your outbound process. So that's really the end of it, of how we think through how to build a predictable sales pipeline with cold email. We use these exact tools and these exact process and systems to help them to build reliable sales pipeline without relying solely on referrals, spending a bunch of money on ads or expensive sales team, or leaving your growth necessarily a chance. If you'd like help something like this, feel free to reach out, connect with me here at .co. We help B2B tech and health tech companies drive sustainable revenue through demand generation. With that, have a good one.